Welcome back to Klepper's Corner. Today in the news, the show where we sift through the flaming dumpster of global affairs and try to find a single recyclable fact that doesn't smell like corruption, seawater, or Diet MAGA. July 10, 2025, the world continues to spiral into chaos, but don't worry, America's got it all under control, by which I mean we're selling copper at war prices, sanctioning the UN, and replacing diversity with merit, because apparently the civil rights movement peaked with LinkedIn endorsements. Let's dive in, because the news isn't going to satirize itself, though with how insane it is, it's getting dangerously close. Segment 1, Russia, Ukraine, and the ECHR. Just drone with it. So, Russia decided Kyiv looked too peaceful and launched a second consecutive night of drone attacks, just in case anyone forgot they're villains in every Cold War reboot. 2 dead, 16 injured, because when Putin says liberation, he means it the same way the frat bros mean constructive feedback. But fear not, America is sending more artillery shells, because if there's one thing we do well, it's exporting democracy in 155mm chunks. Meanwhile, the European Court of Human Rights ruled that Russia is guilty of everything short of stealing your lunch money in 5th grade. War crimes, child abductions, MH17, torture, you name it, Russia's probably stamped it with a Kremlin logo. But here's the twist. Russia left the court in 2022, so this is like evicting a squatter who already burned down your house and stole the home sweet home doormat. It's symbolic, like giving your ex a negative Yelp review. Still, the ruling could help Ukraine with reparations. You know, if Russia ever develops a conscience or runs out of oil, whichever comes first. Segment 2, Israel, Hamas, and the ceasefire talks that just won't quit. Ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas are going as well as expected, by which I mean they're still talking, still fighting, and still blaming each other while civilians die faster than a dial-up connection in 2025. Trump says a deal might happen this week or next, which is his way of saying never, but maybe during sweeps. Israel killed 24 people in Gaza in a single morning. 13 of them were just waiting in line for nutritional supplements. And if that sentence doesn't make you want to scream into a can of chickpeas, I don't know what will. Al-Shifa Hospital, Gaza's largest, is running out of fuel. The dialysis wing is shut down, 100 premature babies are at risk, and this is being used as a leverage point in negotiations. Because nothing says peace process like using babies as bargaining chips. Meanwhile, the U.S. decided this was the perfect time to sanction Francesca Albanese, the UN's human rights rapporteur, because she criticized Israel. Apparently, if you report on genocide and mention a U.S. ally, you're suddenly supporting terrorism. That's like arresting your smoke detector for libel because it said the house is on fire. Segment 3, Houthy Rebels, now with expanded targeting. In Red Sea news, because yes, that's a phrase now, Houthy rebels just sank a ship and kidnapped survivors. This is what happens when your naval strategy is less coastal defense and more villainous LARP. They reportedly also fired at an Israeli airport, which means they've upgraded from maritime menaces to full-blown Bond villains. The EU stepped in with Operation Aspitus, which sounds like either a naval response or a Greek yogurt for authoritarian digestion. Meanwhile, the U.S. is demanding the release of kidnapped crew members because nothing says maritime diplomacy like shouting at rebels from 7,000 miles away. Let's be honest, at this point, Red Sea security is basically one long PowerPoint slide of international failure. Segment 4, China, Malta, and the axis of mild-mannered tourism. Yes, folks, Malta is getting in on the China game. Their deputy PM is heading to Beijing to strengthen political mutual trust. Because when you're tiny and Mediterranean, cozying up to a superpower is the geopolitical version of riding shotgun with a mob boss and calling it Uber. Also, China's backing a Southeast Asian nuclear weapon-free zone, which is kind of like a cat promising not to eat your hamster while licking its lips. This is soft power at its softest, like a panda in a velvet suit, whispering trade agreements into your ear. And while the West is busy sanctioning UN officials and name-dropping genocide, China's making friends, signing protocols, and cornering the market on polite imperialism. Segment 5. The U.S. slaps tariffs like they're mosquitoes on the 4th of July. President Trump announced 50% tariffs on copper and goods from Brazil because it's Tuesday. Copper apparently is now a national security threat. So if you've got a penny jar at home, congratulations, you're now a strategic asset. As for Brazil, the tariffs are punishment for the criminal trial of Bolsonaro, because nothing says global diplomacy like slapping tariffs on an entire nation because their ex-president forgot to return the democracy rental keys. Trump even threatened 200% tariffs on pharmaceuticals, which I assume means he wants Americans to choose between paying rent or curing pneumonia. Despite all this, the stock market yawned and went back to worshiping Nvidia. Apparently, so long as AI is booming, the economy can ignore reality, just like Trump. Segment 6, immigration crackdowns and the blacklist that would make J. Edgar blush. America's immigration system just got more dystopian than a season finale of Black Mirror written by Jeff Sessions. Trump's working deals with African nations, Gabon, Liberia, Senegal, to take in deported migrants who aren't even their citizens, because nothing solves global displacement like deporting people to countries they've never been to. What could go wrong? Meanwhile, ICE admitted in court that it got most of its protester investigation targets from a website, a pro-Israel one, that blacklists pro-Palestinian students and academics. You heard that right. Our government is outsourcing surveillance to websites that sound like they were built by your paranoid uncle who watches Fox and Friends through a telescope. This is America 2025, where free speech is free unless it makes a donor uncomfortable, in which case, surprise, you're on a list, buddy. And in California, a bishop literally suspended mass obligation because people are too afraid ICE will snatch them between peace be with you and the Eucharist. When church is no longer a sanctuary, you've officially broken the moral sound barrier. Segment 7, Indiana ends DEI, starts MEI because acronyms fix everything. Indiana has officially killed DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and replaced it with MEI, merit, excellence, and innovation, because nothing says we value diversity like firing everyone who worked on diversity. Over 350 initiatives and 70 training programs gone. It's like the purge, but for HR departments. Braun says it's about uniting Hoosiers under common values. Sure, because if there's one thing history teaches us, it's that meritocracy always blooms best in a vacuum of historical inequality. It's a bit like replacing your brakes with vibes, momentum, and hope and saying the car's fine. And if that wasn't enough, Indiana also introduced a bill to block college prep for undocumented students, because apparently the only thing more dangerous than helping immigrants succeed is letting them study algebra. This isn't policy. It's a TED Talk sponsored by Tucker Carlson's Nightmares. Segment 8, Texas floods and New Mexico's climate gut punch. In real disaster news, floods. Texas and New Mexico have been absolutely hammered. In New Mexico, flash floods killed 3 people. In Texas, the death toll from July 4th flooding topped 100. 100, that's not a flash flood. That's a climate wake-up call beating us with a wet 2x4. And here's the kicker. The county hit hardest in Texas. They missed the chance to install a flood warning system for over a decade because they couldn't come up with $1 million. Apparently, when it comes to spending, America's priorities are 1, missiles, 2, tax breaks for yachts, 3, actually protecting citizens from drowning in their backyard, somewhere around number 438. Indiana even had to send crews to help with rescue efforts. And let me be clear, when Indiana becomes your climate disaster cavalry, you know the script has gone off the rails. This isn't bad luck. It's decades of ignoring scientists while building suburbs in floodplains. It's like living in a house made of matches and being surprised every 4th of July. Segment 9, the FBI investigates the FBI. Now on to the wait. Who's investigating whom? Portion of the news. The FBI, on referral from Trump-appointed CIA Director Radcliffe, is investigating whether Brennan and Comey made false statements to Congress about Russia's role in the 2016 election. Because what better way to heal America than by relitigating the last time we tore each other's faces off? This is like rebooting Watergate, but giving the burglars a podcast and legal immunity. Now, I'm not saying this is a political stunt, but if it walks like a vendetta and quacks like deep state, maybe we're not watching justice, we're watching revenge fanfic. It's bad enough that people don't trust institutions. Now, we're investigating the people who investigated the people who investigated the people who investigated Trump. We're about one step away from a Department of Redundancy department. Segment 10, Executive Shuffles and Elon Free Skies. Some rapid-fire leadership shakeups to close it out. The Senate confirmed airline exec Brian Bedford as FAA administrator. So if your next flight is delayed, just know the guy in charge used to run a budget airline. So prepare for more legroom fees and pilot announcements sponsored by Mountain Dew. And over in social media land, Linda Yaccarino is stepping down as CEO of X, formerly Twitter, currently a fire drill run by Elon Musk and 4 AI interns who think free speech means letting your uncle post memes of frogs in Nazi helmets. We wish her luck in her next job, which, given the market, is probably spokesperson for the Indiana DEI funeral procession. And there you have it, July 10th, 2025. A day where the world burned a little hotter, politics got a little pettier, and somehow we're still pretending we're making progress. We've got a Red Sea boiling, Gaza gasping, and ICE agents using a blacklist like it's McCarthyism, the college years. But hey, at least the NASDAQ is up, because nothing soothes the soul like a booming tech sector and a collapsing planet. Join us next time when we ask, is climate change still real if you drown in freedom? Spoiler alert, it is. This has been Klepper's Corner. I'm Jordan Klepper, and I'll be back tomorrow. Unless Indiana replaces satire with merit, excellence, and just shut up. Good night.